How are you training now, Ray? You're training 3 days a week, I understand.
I average 2 to 3 times.
So you've been down as low as 2 days a week?
Yes, and I make very, very good gains at 2 days a week.
What would you train? Now, let's say you're training, say on 2 days you train Monday?
Monday and then say a Friday.
Okay, what would you train? How would you train total body on Monday?
Be a split routine.
Okay, so you only train a body part once a week. And keep that type of muscular...
Sometimes I train my thighs only once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Once every 2 or 3 weeks. Incredible. What?
The thing is, indirect effects, direct effects, overall overload, all these come into place, which people fail to realize.
So you're using every principle of scientific progressive resistance with knotless machines and put them all together into that one workout, which is probably quite gruesome.
It's gruesome, and it takes me 48 hours to 3 to 4 days to recuperate.
Because it takes that much out of you.
The next day, the second day, I'm just really wiped out. And the third day, I'm just starting to feel better. And so you have to you can get in shape and adapt to certain levels, but you start pushing harder and your overload increases, you keep ahead of that demand.
Ray, you think that with free weights that your body tends to stop before you've really hit the hard breakdown, but with the knotless machines or with machines, you seem to be able to go by that point and actually overtrain with knotless machines because they're easy to overtrain.
Free weights, there's no such thing.
Okay, barbells and dumbbells.
I explained that to you, that they're actually not free, they're more restrictive than the machines.
Do you think that you can, do you think you can train harder with machines than you can with the...
The reason being is because on the barbell or dumbbell, you're not getting full range for maximum contraction. You got the injury factors. Mentally, you're being placed with the fear factors.
So the muscle tires out before you really...
No, you're not working to its fullest. You're actually just you're using up your nervous energy. You're fatiguing yourself before you really work.
So then you put the weights down and then
you might hear people talking about deadlifts. That's one of the biggest useless exercises there is.
Yeah.
It's a waste. But yeah, they go out there and kill themselves.
Because they use so much energy to do it.
So much energy.
Spend it somewhere else.
That's what I try to explain to people. It's important how you expend that energy. Controversy of so-called free weights, barbell, dumbbell, and machines is strictly a commercial propaganda.
They're all machines to develop muscle.
They're all tools. You can build a good physique using barbells and dumbbells, but then again,
principles that apply.
Principles that are applied, the safety factors, how your time and energy is expended and used.
Right now, let's do your Monday workout. What do you start with? Let's say.
I'll start with the Nautilus Duo Squat Machine.
Is that the new machine that Arthur just developed?
Yes, it's very good because at the end of when you stand with a squat, at the top position, you can stand with a ton because there's no contraction. You're just locking out, standing there. The Duo Squat, as you're pushing towards the lockout, you have to work at the end. You have to contract at the end. It's no easy matter. At first, you'll be weak because you never contracted that fully.
So actually, the weight works the maximum of every...
He hits the whole belly of the muscle.
So do you do a pre-exhaust on the thing?
You can vary a pre-exhaust. It's not...
So what are you doing, like 2 sets or 3 sets?
I'll warm up and do one maximum set.
And how many reps?
Right now I'm using 35 reps with the full stack.
And that's it? That's all you do for the thighs?
I'll guarantee you that's all you want to do.
And you can't walk after?
For shot.
Is there negatives and all forced reps and all that involved with what you're doing now and that exercise?
Yes, I do incorporate that type of training, but I'm building a crescendo of intensity now.
So you're just getting straightened around from moving out here. So you're gradually building up your intensity workout.
Now the thing about peaking and sub-peaking, which I learned how to do in strength training, is that every time you peak, you do have to come down after a certain period of time, and you sub-peak. That means you're maintaining a certain amount of strength training, not hitting that peak. Now the next time you peak and sub-peak, your sub-peak level will be at your last level's peak. You understand that?
Right. You're not trying to jump ahead every workout.
Sub-peak and peak will be going. They'll be going together each time you do it. So you peak, you sub-peak. This peak, sub-peak will be as good as that last peak was down here. You understand that?
Yeah.
And as a result, my strength is just going just crazy.
So you push and you draw back, push hard, draw back, that type of thing. So each time you go up, you have a little bit more. So you're doing the new leg squat machine. What else for your thighs? Anything else? Hamstring?
Yeah, I'll do 1 set of leg curls and possibly, depending on my energy levels and fatigue factors, I'll do one set of leg extensions with it.
So that's they're done in regular. Are they done high reps as well?
I try to do high reps, yeah.
High reps, like 30,
the legs.
35.
Neurologically, your legs take higher reps.
Okay.
Neurological system is not as efficient as, let's say, your arms.
They're closer to your... Okay.
Well, just throughout time, the apes, I mean, they ran through the woods or whatever, running for their prey or game. So you need more reps with your legs.
Okay. What's next, Ray, after
From
something?
there, I'll advance to my back. I'm not following the exact same routine Boyer is.
Mm-hmm.
I juggle around for my own needs at this point.
Individualized training.
I'll start with the pull-over machine. From there, I'll do the behind neck pull-down. And possibly one other machine. They have some prototypes down there where it's a type of sitting up row. I'll use
for back.
For the
one
last.
Set each?
One set.
And how many reps there?
I go from 8 to 12.
So you're doing about 3 different machines there for the back.
Yep.
So you're doing about 3 sets of 8 to 12.
3 sets.
So what you're doing, you're working the big muscles and working gradually the smaller ones.
Yeah, it tends to progress that way.
So legs, back, and what's next?
From there, they have a new lower back machine that's phenomenal. And I'll probably end up doing with that.
Finish off like the lower back yourself.
See, people are obsessed. They're so chronically obsessed with a certain amount of numbers, reps, and sets and exercises. There's a day I go in the gym, I'll just pick a certain amount of things and do them. Like, let's say I'll do my squat machine, my back, the lower back machine. I might do one set of biceps and gone. You know, I'm not obsessed with that.
Getting so many reps or so many sets, so much weight, the whole deal. You're just instinctively training.
Well, I don't want to even use the term instinctively. I step out of my habit. I'm not afraid of stepping out of this structural rut
Right.
most bodybuilders get into.
Right.
They feel if you don't follow that program, you're not going to make it, which is false.
This is the biggest propaganda.
And again, it's a propaganda, so...
Yeah, we both know that they put a story in a magazine because if they put the truth in, they wouldn't have an article. You know, how would we write a big article on how you train your arms if you only did one set of machine curls?
All the articles I've written, Joe will not print them because I will not write the way he wants me to.
He wants you to put all the fanciness to it.
He wants me to put the weird research claim, all
that
horse shit.
Yeah, I know.
And,
okay, Ray, we've done the back. And you said what would go next with that Monday workout back?
Lower back and biceps usually.
What do you do for biceps, just like you said earlier?
Yeah, I'll do like 1 or 2 sets of curls maximum.
Right, on the machine curls.
They have bearing machines. They have a dual poly curl, and they have one where you do one arm at a time behind your neck.
How do you find the machines? Do you get a tremendous ache in there?
Tremendous. It's the overload's so incredible that
never got that from anything else.
And the whole thing, again, is the mental motivation and intensity efforts.
It's hard to...
If you take a man with barbells and dumbbells and a man on Nautilus, the man with the most motivation will get the results.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like a drug. Does using steroids make you something you're not?
Yeah.
The machines are going to make you something you're not.
They're just going to improve in what you got. And
they're more efficient. They're more time-saving.
Yeah.
They're safer.
Yeah.
They give you the 10 requirements of building muscle as far as the range, the directions, contractabilities,
so
negative range.
It just gives you an advantage, but if you haven't got the mind, the motivation to use them properly, then...
Right, let's use an analogy. If you were going to have surgery performed, do you want a Bowie knife held over a hot flame or a laser scalpel used on you?
Right, and with a man who's most seriously concerned about your health or someone who don't really care, he's looking for the money. So that's
the choice you got to make.
Yeah. So
there's always a choice.
So do you think that you can could I progress on Nautilus training hard but not to the intensity you train? I mean, I can't sit there. I don't have the pain threshold or the motivation.
That's another aspect. You have to train at your own level. You can't compare.
This is it. Because you see...
That's where people run the problem. They compare themselves.
Well, see, this is one of the things that people criticize about heavy duty is that, my God, I can't go through the torture that you and Mike would put each other through on heavy duty. So
there's such term as negative intensity, and people have been using Mike Mentzer's so-called heavy duty or Nautilus training negatively. They're taking their term and concept of intensity and putting it into their training. Most people have problems with that. After analyzing and talking to them, they're not following anything Mike said.
No, they're just whatever they've interpreted it.
They have this certain called berserkist, this maniacus approach.
Yeah, and it's not that way at all.
It's not a logical thinking intensity at all. It's just a stupidity or an ignorance.
So they're not properly using the fundamentals.
Not at all.
Okay, so that would do
That's
your.
usually that's
Monday. Okay, let's do your other split program.
Let's say I'll start with my chest and shoulders, and I'll do like maybe triceps and calves.
So you would do, let's say, chest.
They have a Nautilus 10, 40, and 70 pec machines. I use the 10 and the 70, and I'll superset that with their decline press. And I am getting to the point where I'm using negatives and hypers, that's called, where you do positive and negatives.
About, you're supersetting about two cycles?
Yeah, I'll do no more than 2 cycles. That's 4 sets total. A set to me is a combination, a set. What is a set? Well, on my one set, I have the 10 degree and the press.
Okay.
My next set, I might just do the 70, no presses. That's 2 sets of 3 exercises.
And what about triceps next? Or shoulder?
Delts, I'll use the Nautilus shoulder machine.
And press machine?
I don't do many presses, but I'm getting a lot of work on the 70 and on the presses for my pecs. If I'll do anything else, it would be my rear delt, the rowing machine.
So you do a couple of sets each of those?
I'll do maybe 1 set for my rowing and 2 sets for the lateral heads. Now remember again, indirect effect. Like when I'm doing my delts, the rowing point for my rear delts, I'm using my back. So you are getting a lot of indirect work on those giving days.
So you're still working those muscles because sometimes you get a little pump there.
Overload. What's overload mean? It's going to be the overload on your system.
Right.
I'm killing my system.
That's right, because it's so hard on you.
When I do my calves, for example, hey, you don't think my lower back's involved? You don't think my thighs and glutes are involved?
Because you're automatically contracting.
Indirect
What
effect.
about triceps, Ray?
I usually just do dips.
Dips on the dip machine?
Yeah, that's about it.
How many sets?
1 or 2.
1 or 2 sets. And triceps. So that would be about it. And calves you do?
Yeah. Abs, I haven't done any ab work because they don't have the cam hooked up to the ab machine yet.
You use that when they come. What about calves?
I do 1 to 2 sets of calf raises.
On the dip
machine.
Yeah. I was going to say...
They have a new prototype I've been using occasionally too.
So, if you were going to train 3 days a week, you would do one day, the other next day, and Wednesday, and then go back to the Mondays, one on Friday again. Is that
or just do what I want on my third workout. Just do, let's say, if I'm recuperating the severest overload, just might do a set on the squat machine. I might do 1 set for my pecs, 1 set for my back. I might just do a total workout, just 1 set, nothing else.
Do you?
It varies.
If you were to cut your intensity down on each set, let's say, would you do more sets, or you just continue the same workout?
Well, there's a thing called anaerobic conditioning where you can build a certain amount of long-term high muscle work, like for wrestling or whatever. And that would be reducing. I mean, you can incorporate intensity, but you can reduce it to some degree where you're doing more reps and maybe 1 more set. That will condition the muscles for that anaerobic work.
I see.
Now, it only takes 60 to 70% of your maximum effort to maintain your existing mass as it is. Now, if I'm going to come down after I reach a certain peak, per se, let's say over an 8-week period, I'm going for high level intensity and heavy weights.
Which is that program you just give me when you reach your peak there and get up to
I'll back off for a month. I'll train at 80% of my effort.
So you'll train at 80% and that'll retain what you built.
Maintain my strength, and it keeps the memory there. And then when I go for my next peak, I'm going to go past it.
Ray, for someone who doesn't have access to machines, let's say office machines or any other machine, who would want to do a program like this, could they do it and use the same theories but with weights, let's say?
All Arthur is doing is following anatomy and physiology and physics, geometry and numbers.
So you just you apply resistance, you make up your own workout, and you could do it the same program and technique and the reps and what we've just written in the article.
That's part of doing seminars. I show people how they can use their existing tools to do it.
Because let's face it, I'd say 75% of the kids reading this article won't have access to sophisticated equipment that you
well,
have.
I
as a writer don't even have that.
There's 3,500 knowledge gyms in this country right now. Now, at the present rate of growth, there will be in almost every so-called gym in the country. But I'm saying again, just using the basic knowledge
and using tools to do it. So
People have to re-educate themselves in this society on training. They've been so brainwashed over
But
the last
6 day a week, 2
last
hours.
50 years with
Like
this high overload of protein, 6 days a week.
particularly the Schwarzenegger era, where he trained supposed to 4 hours a day and
So the
6
guy
days
was
a
good
week.
for 2 years.
Wore himself out.
And he just kind of went down tubes and well, I don't want to get involved in that discussion.
Okay, Ray. If you were going to cut up for a contest now, say if you're going to get, let's not say contest, let's say if you're going to get an exhibition shape. Obviously, you have to drop some weight from your condition now. I'm not going to insult you by calling you smooth, but you know yourself that you aren't going to do an exhibition at 260.
My goal is to get cut up at 260.
That's your goal. Okay, say if you had an exhibition in 8 weeks, or say, and the money was good, let's say, and you were supposed to be there, what weight would you come in at an exhibition at now? 240?
248, 250.
Okay, how would you go about getting that shape? Because you wouldn't change your training, you wouldn't up your training any. This is what a lot of bodybuilders are.
What I would do, I would increase my intensity of effort to increase muscle mass. I would get my maintenance calorie diet. I would reduce my calories somewhat. Possibly to start, do some aerobics on the bike.
And then you would burn, let's say, work up to an hour a day on the bike?
10 hours.
If you do, this is one thing I wanted to ask, if you do aerobics on the bike, the purpose is what a lot of the guys don't understand. They think they got to crank it up and go and go and go. But
No.
the purpose is to keep it low and go for time, isn't
Burn
it?
fat, yeah.
You don't want to expend your glucose for your training, say, the next day.
You don't want to do that, but there should be a time where you do push the limits just to gain your cardiovascular fitness, but don't try to peak it all.
Say the last 5 minutes. Or
Yeah, just put it up there for a while.
And
So you got to vary the levels of intensity.
so you would probably start your biking up to an hour, let's say, every day or every other day.
Now, that's one mistake I made at one time, that you adapt to that aerobic capacity so easily. Start out even 20 or 30 minutes a day.
And then work up to
Because
it.
that was the point where I was riding 125 miles a week, which is not that much. But I got to the point where I was up to 300 to 400 miles a week to get the same results I did at 125 miles. Because I kept adapting at those levels.
Yeah, because you were pushing it too much and getting more into that, and let's say training.
Yeah.
So you should just use it to burn some, keep your calories at a balance, and increase your intensity. And getting into shape, let's say, is a mental thing pretty well.
It's mental.
Pushing that
I
extra,
could be in excellent shape now.
pushing that food away.
If you realize, I do have some fat on me, but my shoulders and delts, when I get a mild pump in my legs, when they're pumped, I'm just striated.
Because you've built so much muscle.
My back right now, you can see my lats into my hip. My lower back's getting much thicker from the low back machine.
So, what's your diet now, Ray?
I try to keep a balanced diet. I wake up in the morning, just have a little juice and some coffee. And for lunch I have a salad, maybe occasionally a little milk dairy product with it. And in the evening I'll have let's say chicken with some kind of vegetable and a nice tea.
So you keep watching your diet fairly close now.
At this point, I'm going to start getting in shape.
Yeah, so that's your diet now for a day. So if you were going to cut it up for a contest, you just cut it a little bit leaner on it, I guess.
It'd be more of a long-term thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to rush it.
No, gradually decrease calories.
It'd be a gradual, healthy approach.
And you'd watch the mirror, and when you saw
Watch the mirror.
So you're just more of an instinctive.
Well, you can see it. You can pretty well dictate it. I would take a longer time. If I was going to train for a show now, it'd be over a 6-month period.
And do it right, like Mike did for the Olympia. He had it all.
Over a longer period. Once I started reaching that 6-month period, I would not get, over the years I've been staying in better shape as I get older. So it wouldn't be such a traumatic ordeal to get in shape.
So you don't think there's, like, the business about getting 20 and 30 pounds, gorging yourself up after a show? Doesn't help.
If you follow a good diet, maintenance calorie diet, you won't have that tremendous urge. There will be a period of time before a show where you will have to suffer slightly on a diet. But I think it got to the point where it became pretty ridiculous for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. For the 6 weeks, they were eating hardly anything.
That year before the America, I was drinking beer, eating salted peanuts, eating cake. I was ripped.
Because you got fat off. And
fat was off.
And then the metabolic
rate was so high. My activity levels were so high
that you couldn't gain on what you were doing. In fact, you had to eat that to keep it up. Like you said, you would lose 15 pounds with your very erotic or exotic metabolism that you have. So you're almost
everybody can get in that state, by the way.
Yeah.
Metabolic momentum.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine does that, but he's so brainwashed by the figures. You see, got to have 1,500 calories to be in shape. Got to have 50. If I don't take 1,500 calories, then I'm not going to be in shape. When he's actually in shape now, and if he loses any more weight, he's gone too far.
I tell people to use a teeter-totter balance, a scale. If you go to either end of this skew, obviously you're going to go off the deep end. The idea is to fall in the midpoint just slightly. You have to have this line here.
Never get out on the end either way.
No.
So one way is what's gaining, the other is losing. So you got to be.
You have to find that little line in between here instead of out here. That way you won't have this 1,500 calorie diet syndrome you went through.
Yeah.
You can stay range between 25 to 1,200.
If you take it off, if you don't get yourself too fat to begin with,
right,
and you take it off slowly. Because I think, like you say, you can almost eat the same thing and up your activity mentally. You'll burn off. Well,
sure.
Thinking about your exhibition automatically programs you. I'm convinced that your mind is a program.
Well, it's just computer banks.
Computer banks, and your program suddenly programmed. Well, you've been done gaining, now you're going to start ripping up.
Sure. For all the years of my training as being an athlete from the age of 5, I've always been told about mental discipline and toughness, that you got to hit, kill, destroy, annihilate, break their bones, make them bleed. And if you don't feel this way, and if you mentally aren't in this type of mental frame, that you'll never succeed.
Which is wrong.
So I kind of used that as a fuel, and it was such a negative fuel that it burned me out. So I feel that after the America, the 79 into the 80 year, I was just totally burnt.
And you're training with that type of... killer instinct.
Killer instinct. The 80 years showed it. I looked so bad. I became even more depressed and negative. Finally, I realized I had to change my way of thinking here. So now, instead of going to the gym and cursing and swearing and feeling all this revenge and so-called hatred, now I go in there and say, I love it. I enjoy it. It's great. I like to do it. It feels good.
Well, that's wrong, See, this is what they leads to believe. If you don't suffer, then you're never going to make it.
And that's where I'm changing.
You can't enjoy your training if you're enjoying it, then you're not training hard enough.
I think that's one reason why I'm putting on the muscle that I'm putting on.
Could you possibly get into condition, do it on your own speed, not take it seriously, walk into a contest and say, I'm just going into the contest and say, this is what I've done? Could you do that without, and walk in? You know the political system as it is. Let me be the devil's advocate and say, that's the only system we've got right now. So if you want to compete, you either got to play the rules or you don't compete at all. In your case, you're not competing at all. But could you just say, okay, I know I'm the best. Look what I've done. I'm ripped. I'm going to be ripped to shreds. I'm going into the show just to show them, what I've done. And then walk away from the show without being mentally beaten like you were in the last show you went into, where you felt you should have done a lot better than you did. Because what I'm saying is that it's a shame that the people who are your fans are going to miss the physique which is yours. Know what I'm saying?
Well, that's one reason why I'm here also. I'm not here to end my career per se, but I feel as far as competing in the present conditions that are prevailing, I will not subject myself to that. So why not just do exhibitions, seminars, photographs, and videotapes?
Right, and do it, market. If you have a media to market it through, then you're better off.
Sure, I mean, I'm not adverse to...
What does Arthur have in mind for you personally, you feel? Have you discussed this with him?
Well, I'm here to learn as much as I can.
So
overall complex.
You're going to learn about the
video, the camera techniques. I'm here to learn about it.
Plus, you could be classed as an experimental guinea pig as well.
Yeah, I'll buy my own choosing.
And you're willing to do that?
Buy my own choosing.
Because you feel you may learn something that will...
At this point, it would be more to my advantage to...
So you're still basically a bodybuilder at heart?
So is Arthur Jones. So is Joe Weider. So is...
a frustrated one right now.
Me?
Frustrated competitor, but not a frustrated bodybuilder.
No, I'm not frustrated at all.
You're happy now with the situation?
Why should I be frustrated? I made some very highly moral value choices here this past year or two, which gives me more fuel for more positive upstream.
And what's going to happen?
I'm not frustrated.
It's going to help you in the end.
Who's frustrated? People in California, or people who are competing now, or me?
Yes, right.
Well, who would you say is frustrated?
Through the shows, I can see who's frustrated.
I'm not frustrated.
And the guys who are winning now are going to be a hell of a lot more frustrated in a year or two when they're not winning anymore.
That's right. How about Albert? He knows.
Yeah, because you can't keep winning.
And Muhammad, he's going to win for a while. His days are numbered.
What'll happen to Muhammad? He may win right up till Olympia, and then their hand-picked guy will be the guy that will win.
It certainly won't be him.
That's right. So, in finishing off then, Ray, you just...
Changing my attitude.
Changing your attitude now that you enjoy your training. You don't feel you have to tear the machines apart to get a good workout, and that you have to suffer to get any progress. Now you can go in and train at your own speed.
That's what I call passive intensity.
Passive intensity.
Sure.
That's good training. That's good advice to the kids out there who would be reading this, that they don't have to, if they're enjoying themselves in the gym, they shouldn't feel guilty.
Right.
Because I too, if we've been subjected to that.
If you miss a workout, if you're not at that peak, don't worry about it. Just forget it. Don't whip yourself. In our society, educational system, you're always taught if you messed up or if you made a mistake to whip yourself. You learn by your mistake.
That's right.
So don't whip yourself. Enjoy your training.
Enjoy your training. I appreciate that, Ray. That's a good closing comment on what we just discussed.